Tim Fitzgerald joins us from GoPowerCat.com. He's all things Kansas State. Where are you with Tom Petty, Fitz? I would imagine you're like me, you love him.
Yeah, that's right in my wheelhouse of music when I was younger and more fun, but yeah. However, I will back down. I'm just not that tough.
Younger and more fun. Man, wasn't that fun to be younger and more fun?
Yes, and that is gone. I'm not fun. No fun.
Fitzy, no. We were just talking about Wade Bowen. My dad doesn't know much about him. What would you tell him about Wade Bowen?
I had an interesting story about Wade Bowen. So when I was younger and fun, this is probably still in my early 40s, I saw Wade Bowen live in a bar, and I hated him. I had this incredible urge to go up and punch him, so I left the bar. And then I started listening to a lot of Red Dirt music. I'm like, I like this song a lot. And then I realized, you know what, I really like Wade Bowen a lot. And I think the song that finally won me over was Rodeo Clown. If you haven't listened to Rodeo Clown by Wade Bowen, you need to. It's a gem.
Well, I'm going to delve in. You guys have got me peaked. Let's turn to K-State football because that was a big road win against Texas Tech after a big road loss at Oklahoma State. TCU coming up at home this week. And all anybody wants to talk about, and for good reason, is what's the quarterback situation? My question would be, how can it not be Avery Johnson moving forward?
Well, I think they're going to be a little cautious on that and see how teams adjust to him. And I also think, TCU's, if you look at the stats, is much better at defending the quarterback run than Texas Tech. We said on our PowerCat pregame podcast, this was a gaping hole in their defense was the quarterback run game. And we saw that come to fruition, and the coaches stuck with it. I actually think Will Howard will start on Saturday. I think they're going to kind of go into this. Chris Clement just said there's no plan. I mean, we're going to probably play them both, but he's just going to go with the hot hand, just as he's done with the running backs and what he did Saturday. I think what's changed now is at Oklahoma State, he didn't do that, and now he knows he's got to do that. Avery's made it very clear. If Avery goes out and does similar things against TCU, I think he probably starts with Houston next week, but I can see them kind of massaging this, with the two quarterbacks for the next couple of weeks until they know exactly what they want to do when they go to Texas.
And I agree that probably makes sense. I mean, Will Howard certainly hasn't done a whole lot to lose the job, but Avery Johnson was so impressive. So, Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at my email. I thought you were about to ask a question. My question is, why do you think, or why did it turn out that Wade Bowen? See, I've got Wade Bowen on the mind. Will Howard worked out so well for K-State last week because traditionally it's been running quarterbacks for K-State that have worked. Adrian Martinez was brought in to be that guy. Obviously, Avery Johnson was just successful at it. So why do you think Will Howard worked so well, and is that sustainable?
Well, you know what? If you ask anyone about the quarterback run game, they're going to say K-State needs to do it. It works. If you ask Colin Klein, who is the very definition of the quarterback run game, he's going to tell you he wants to shy away from it a little bit and use it more situational than as the core of the offense because he got beat up. Every quarterback K-State gets beat up beyond what you do in the normal wear and tear. As far as I could tell, Avery goes so fast nobody can touch him, so that's kind of an advantage to that. But I think he's going to be real cautious. Avery's not a real big guy yet. He doesn't have all that college muscle mass on him yet, and he really could get injured if someone squares him up. So they're going to be a little bit careful with how they treat their quarterbacks. And I know Will Howard has already been banged around a little bit.
We know that these are both very high character guys. I was completely impressed with the shots they showed from the sideline the other night when Avery was just having this monumental game, and Will Howard was right next to him on the sideline. They were talking, they were laughing, they were giving each other slaps on the shoulder pads. So that's a huge advantage too, right? No, the coaches
Oh, it
don't
is.
have to worry about any ill will.
No, and you know what? Chris Plummer just talked about that. Will Howard saw how Adrian Martinez handled him last year, and he's giving Avery the same respect. It's got to be weird for Will. I mean, this is literally 1 year removed from when he stepped on the field against TCU, and kind of changed everything at quarterback for K-State. Now it's happening to him. Again, we'll see how the game plays out, but Will Howard's handled it really well. He's a leader. He wants the team to win. And I don't know if you saw this. By not going to Lubbock, I had the advantage of watching on TV, and at halftime, Avery Johnson stood on that sideline and, high-fived or low-fived or dabbed up, whatever you want to call it, every player leaving for the locker room until there was none, and then he went in the locker room. Just little leadership things like that really resonate with teammates.
Do you think the best course of action for K-State is to just let both guys play and give teams different looks and come at them in different ways? Is that the best way for K-State to kind of not save its season, but have as much success as possible?
I think so. I mean, you're going to force these teams to prepare for two guys, and we know that isn't easy. And I think they both have assets they can give the team without compromising what they want to do offensively. They might lean more into the run with Avery and more into the pass with Will, but they both can do it. So they're really going to make opposing teams prepare much more in depth than they have maybe just for Will Howard.
Tim Fitzgerald, our guest, gopowercat.com, his entity. You can read his work and the work of many others. They focus completely on Kansas State athletics. I think I've asked you about Oklahoma State before. They just beat Kansas the other night down in Stillwater, so they ran the gauntlet against the Kansas teams in Stillwater. Here they are at 2-1 in the conference. They have an interesting road game coming up Saturday against West Virginia, another of the 2-1 teams. The Big 12 is completely impossible to figure out.
Oh, it's nuts. This conference is absolutely nuts. I don't understand it at all. How you look at how Oklahoma State reinvents himself. We think BYU's maybe going to go in and give TCU that's struggling some problems, and no, TCU kills them. You can just find new life in another week. It's just absolutely incredible to watch how this conference functions and how difficult it is for teams to find their way, to define who they are. Who's the best team, the third team in this conference between Texas and Oklahoma? We don't have a clue right now. Maybe it's K-State, maybe it's someone else, but these games are just all self-contained. You got to go take care of them. TCU is going to be a headache on Saturday, and then you worry about Houston that might come in and give you trouble. You just don't know what you're going to get.
And before we let you go, I do want to ask you about basketball, because it seems like people are underselling K-State basketball. I realize the players they lost from last year, but I also know what I saw with Jerome Tang and his ability to connect and to build a team and to make that team the very best it can be. I don't think that changes, and I like the talent on this roster. I think the prognosticators are missing the boat. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I don't know how you look at what happened last season in Manhattan and not kind of buy in, if you want to say it that way. He proved he can put together a roster. He's got two transfer portal guys that are going to be high impact. I think we've just scratched the surface on Naquan Tomlin, a guy that is just kind of figuring out basketball, and he hasn't played a whole lot in his history after not playing high school basketball. He's going to get better. It's going to be a good K-State team. Elite Eight, look, that's a lot to ask. That was a lot to ask last year, but I do think this team will be competing for the top spot in the Big 12. Kansas is naturally the team to beat, and I think they'll be in the mix. If things fall the right way, they could finish in that top spot. We just got to play the games, and I'm eager to see what the finished product looks like for Kansas State basketball.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to basketball season, but we got a ways to go with football, and certainly all eyes will be on K-State at home this Saturday against TCU, a rematch of the title game from last year. Fitz, thank you.
Thank you, boys. Good to talk to you.